Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take episode 273. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you doing on this fine Thursday?
This was actually a really fucking bad day,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, sounds
made
about
it
right.
through.
Yeah, I've had a terrible week at work myself. I am at the end of my rope with my current job. So it's been a fun week. We had a conference room break yesterday.
Hmm.
And it was the one that our board was meeting in that day, and every executive who worked in technology was losing their absolute fucking mind. um like literally, like somebody was threatening to shoot us up or something like that. Like they were it was complete insanity. So yeah, that was fun. That was great. None of my leaders can keep a cool enough head to suggest any alternatives until I got there. So that was fun. Um, they
What?
didn't.
I mean, if you don't mind, what happened?
Well, so obviously every company has public companies especially have a board, and they have board meetings, right?
Yeah.
So they had a board meeting in our office, and the executive assistants, they schedule the meeting, they set everything up, they make sure everything's great, and blah blah blah. They get the room set up and everything beforehand. But they tested the room the day before, and everything worked fine. Like all the devices supposedly worked fine. Um, but they came in yesterday, and the room wasn't working. Like the video wasn't working, speakers weren't playing audio, microphones were not working, nothing was working. So of course, they started panicking because it's like, oh, we have the board meeting. Oh God, we have a bunch of people remote. They need to come in and, be in the Teams meeting or whatever. And so I didn't get in until the meeting started at 8, and I didn't get in until 9:15. Like I don't really usually, I don't get in like super early usually. I'm kind of a late person. But I get there, and like, my team was really short. So one of my guys is is in a different state setting up a new store. So I'm already down a person from that. And then one of my other guys is like the late guy. He comes in at 9 with me usually. And then I have one other guy who is generally speaking scheduled like 8 to 5, but I'm not super strict on people's time because generally it's not a requirement. Like, if there's a requirement, I will ask people to be in, at a specific time. But unfortunately, in this case, that we didn't have that conversation before the board meeting. So this was a learning lesson for me, where it's like, I should have just been there, whatever, and made sure everything was good. But point being, they show up, things aren't working, so none of us are there, and my boss was supposedly quote unquote sick yesterday and wasn't in the office either. So none of us were there. And our level 1 support team, unfortunately, is just not capable of fixing issues. So there was really no one there that could like solve the problem or like even look at it to start troubleshooting it and solving the problem. So what did they do? They called me, they called they called one of my other guys, and then they called the guy I have that's at the new store, setting up the new store. And I had literally, like, when I got called, I had literally just woken up. Like, I'm not even joking with you. 30 seconds after I opened my fucking eyes, like, I get a phone call. So I didn't answer it because, in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I am not there. I need a little bit of time to like get my shit in order, mentally. So I didn't pick up the phone because I'm just like, I'm probably not gonna say nice things. So then I get I get hit by my boss, our CISO, our facilities director. All of them are texting me, calling me, and then I call back one of them and get an understanding of the situation, and you know things weren't working. But I found out that somebody from our resource center manager was working with one of my guys over the phone. So I was like, okay, then I think we're good. I think they'll figure it out. They'll be able to figure something out, hopefully. But then I get there, I get to the office, and no, they hadn't figured it out. It wasn't resolved. Issues was still going on. The meeting was happening. They didn't like do anything with the meeting. So the meeting is going on. They're talking. The executives are all talking to each other, and they're having their meeting. And then I get there, and my CTO is there, outside the room, and I walk in, and I'm like, because I'm thinking this whole time we should move the meeting, right? Like that's the logical thing to do, right? AV equipment's not working. This is an extremely important meeting, board of directors. You're not going to walk in there and start troubleshooting, dude. Like that's just not a realistic thing that's going to happen. Like I'm not going to be unplugging things and having the beep boop fucking noises happening when audio's resetting and stuff like that. I'm not doing that in a board meeting. So so the first thing I do when I get there, I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Why haven't they moved out of the room yet? Like we should move them into a different room. So that's instantaneously what I start working on. Like I'm helping the CTO. We're moving tables around. We're getting everything set up for the next room. I test the room, make sure it's all working, audio's working, everything's working, right? It's all good. Everything's good there. And then that was he talks to he texts the CEO and the COO, and they're like, we need to move you guys into a different room. And they agree, and everything's fine. And then they do that at around like 10 a.m. or something like that. And then I go in the room and try to fix the room afterwards. But it's just like I got frustrated that I had 3 or 4 different leaders all call me, and none of them had the initiative, or I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. Like they didn't come to the decision to move them out of the room earlier. Like why did it take me getting there to be the one to say we should move rooms? We have like 11 or 12 other rooms that are fine, all fully functional rooms. It's like, so why are we like leaving them in a room that is causing disruption to the super important meeting? Like, yes, moving them to a different room is going to cause disruption. Absolutely. But you're doing it once, and that's the end of it, right? There's no drama to it after that. It's like, so it's a simple decision, because I can't go in the room and troubleshoot until everyone's out. I'm not doing it in the middle of their meeting. It's like, because especially in this particular room, one of the components, a couple of the components are up in the ceiling. So I need a ladder. I have to like go above the panels and like, fucking with shit above the ceiling. So it's like, you're not doing that when the meeting's going on. It wasn't never going to happen. So it's like the obvious choice was to move them out of that room into a different room. And it's just, so I'm like, it's just, dude, it's just shit like that. Like, I don't feel like the people around me like have the wherewithal to make decisions sometimes. I'm like, why does it take Justin showing up for us to do something? It's just like, what the fuck? So I got super agitated yesterday. I was annoyed. And then my boss fucking has the balls to call me yesterday, and he starts getting on my case because nobody was in the office to support this meeting. But obviously I mentioned earlier, he wasn't in the office the entire day. He wasn't there either. So it's like, bro, like, how are you criticizing me for not being president when you didn't show up either? Like, what are you talking about? So it's just, I don't know. It pissed me off. I was so fucking mad yesterday, dude. Like, I was glad he wasn't there, because I would have said some shit that, probably can't take back. So it's like, I don't know, man. I'm at that point with work where I'm just so tired of, I don't know. I feel like everybody needs me to do things, and it's like, dude, like I need everybody around me to be like autonomous, okay? Stop being reliant on me. It's like it's like, you guys can do things, it's like, you can make decisions, you can fix problems, it's okay. It's just, I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
no, I
So
I definitely I definitely sometimes feel like that.
yeah.
Yeah, not as far as like I know my system admins, they do a lot of work, so I don't really harp on them. But as far as
Mhm.
like just my role, I feel
Yeah.
like I do a lot. I feel like I do everything. My boss relies on me because so she gives a lot of shit to me instinctively because
Mine does the
I
same thing, yeah.
yeah, because I can do the job. Um But like sometimes when you're not in a good mental health space or a mental good mental space, like that shit really bothers you. And like today,
Yeah.
I was really upset because I was like dealing with the internet and everything like that.
Mm,
And
yeah.
and this was like this is the second time this month this has happened. Um,
Yeah.
and it
Well,
took
and
me.
yeah, I know you're like communicating with me on the side too about the podcast tonight. Like we had a near miss, guys. We almost had a live recording today. That would have been
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah. So you're dealing with that on the side too, right?
Yes, yeah, and then and then like I said, we got the new hire or the new guy who's been there for
Mm,
about 2 or 3 weeks,
yeah.
um, and she wants me to teach him stuff, and then so I mean, it was just stuff like she wanted me to do something today for him, and I was just like, listen, I told him like, listen, bro, we can do this tomorrow. I am not in the headspace to train anybody, and I don't want you to see this side of me. So he was like, okay, I understand or whatever, but yeah, I definitely understand that. I feel like if I'm not there or if I don't lead the way in something, then at least as far as my level of work, a lot
Yeah.
of shit would go haywire.
Yeah.
Or they would have to just figure it out. And I even like we handed off a project to somebody for all the new hires and stuff like that. I had to still pick that slack up because I mean, the other person had to go out and do something, so it wasn't like he wasn't doing anything. But then once I picked the slack, once I took over the project because he couldn't finish it, I noticed a lot of shit was missing, and I was just like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?" Like
Yeah.
So I get it, and then to me, it falls back on me. I don't know why because I feel like I'm like the pseudo manager or something like that. Maybe because I had the more experience or whatever
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
seniority.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely understand that. And then with AT&T, it was just like yeah, like the gateway went out, and then on the 6th the gateway went out on that weekend or whatever. And then obviously fast forward a couple of days later, and the gateway went out again yesterday.
Yeah.
And the lights just flickered like a little bit or whatever, and uh yeah, they just wouldn't come back on. So it turns out, according to the tech, and then so I didn't tell y'all what happened. Did I tell y'all what happened? Oh no, I didn't. I don't think I
I don't
told
think
y'all the whole
so.
story.
No, you
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
So this is what happened. So yeah, the gateway went out and everything, and I used the app. So they got this little app called Smart Manager or whatever. Everything wants to be automated and everything. That shit. This is why I fucking hate AI and everything. So I
Yeah.
used the app, and the app troubleshoot everything, try to bounce the modem or the router or whatever. And it was like, oh, we need to send a technician out there. It immediately said that shit. So I was like, whatever, get the technician out there tomorrow. So that was yesterday, and it's supposed to be scheduled for 8 to 12 today.
Yeah.
So I'm not there obviously, and my wife is here, and then she's like, oh, uh, you would never guess what happened to me today. And I'm like, okay, what happened or whatever. And then she said this. So AT&T decides to send two salespeople to our door.
Mm,
But get this, one of them was in training, right? So my
right.
wife during the daytime has the windows open because usually it's not that hot around us. We have a lot of shade where we're at, so
Yeah.
usually it's not that hot, and we leave the windows open, and then we turn the air on around like maybe 1 or 2 o'clock or whatever. So she had the windows open, and she heard like the dude was talking really loud. He's not at the door; he's at the foot of my walkway where the sidewalk is at. And that's how loud he's talking. So he's like, "Oh, they're gonna be really happy to see us. We showed up on time.
Oh boy.
We got here at 8 o'clock, like they wanted us to." And you
No.
know but we're not technicians. We're not here to fix their problem. We're actually here to sell them more stuff, so that
Oh,
because they're going to be so happy that we're here, they're going to want to buy more stuff. So when you get up there, blah blah blah, and all this stuff like that, but just let them know we're
wow.
trying
And
not
you
to get.
heard all of that.
She heard every word. She
Yeah,
even
or she
recorded
did.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
She
Oh
heard.
my god, that's amazing.
So they walked up to the door, and she's like, no, I'm not buying anything from you. I heard the whole fucking conversation. Give me a technician out here now. I need our internet up and running because I'm working from home. So she said he just smiled and was like, okay. And then he walked back to the foot of the driveway and was like, I guess she was just sitting there at the door waiting for us. No, we can literally hear you from our window at the foot of the walkway. And we can still hear you even though you're trying to whisper. He was just a loudspeaker individual.
Yeah.
So I called AT&T. I called them 3 times because I called them once or 2 times rather. I called them once because there's like we're still going to get a technician out there on the way. We're sorry about it. I mean, these are just level 1 tech support people. They don't really fucking care. I mean, I wouldn't either. So then I called again because at like 11:30 or 11 o'clock rather, it was like, oh, your technician's not going to be able to make it. It's going to be unable to make it at 12. You can wait or we can reschedule. And I'm like, bitch, what the fuck you mean? Wait, you gave me this window. Meet your window. So I called again, and they're like, oh, there's nothing we can do. I hung up the phone on them because I didn't want to cuss the person out.
Wow. Yeah.
So I took to Twitter and I at AT&T help and I go on like a whole rant about what my experience was. A technician called me within 5 minutes, saying, "Oh, we're gonna get someone out there."
Oh my god, that's amazing! I hate companies. Oh my god, nah, bro, that's so.
And then the technician gets out here, right? And he's saying he was trying to say, "Oh, your power, this could be on you, but I'm gonna do you guys a favor." And he swapped out the little AT&T Uverse box that we got for fiber or whatever. He swapped it out because it was pretty old. It was here before we got here, and he was like, "Oh, so you guys won't get charged for it? You guys won't get charged for something? Because if it's on our side, we get charged for it, right? You get charged $99." So he was like, "Oh, I'm going to swap this out for you as a favor," but it was actually the power. The modem was running really hot and everything. I'm like, it's on it's elevated. He's like, "Oh, and it looks like you guys are creating a loop back because you had one end of the Ethernet cable going into the other port, and like how you had the same Ethernet cable, both ends were going into like 2 different ports. And he said it was creating a loop back and starting." And I'm like, okay, let's just hypothetically say that was the case, right? This gateway has been on for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How is that the problem now? It doesn't make any sense. It's just your equipment's fucking trash. Like just be honest about it. Like, so anyway, the internet's back up and running, but I think when I come back next week, I'm going to start looking for
different provider.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Spectrum because I had Spectrum back at the apartment and they weren't really too bad. I think I was only down like one time without internet, and that was it. This has
I'm
been ridiculous.
not a big fan of AT&T. I mean, they all suck.
Yeah, they all do. They all suck
to differing degrees. They have no incentive to not suck. So it's just they don't care. We all need internet. It's like it's such an annoying situation. Like it's like there's nothing you can do. Like what do they care? In a lot of areas, you don't even have a choice. You have one company. And it's like, if their service sucks, oh well, what are you gonna do? Not have internet? Like, go fuck yourself, kid. It's like, so I don't know. Yeah, no, man, that's fucking irritating. They just like put you on the hook, and like it's just like, oh, we might show up. I don't know if you wait, maybe we'll show up today. It's like, yeah, okay, dude. Like, how is that acceptable service?
Yeah, and I was just really mad, and I was just like, I was just thinking to myself, like I said, not to get political, but it's like I was thinking to myself, there's no way in hell that people think the government and big ass corporations are better. People are like, oh yeah, well private is better, the fire sector is better. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm getting the same type of service I would get if it was the fucking government. Both of them are shit. Like, I was so fucking mad. I was just like, everybody's shit, or whatever. But my internet is up and running and whatever, but I just didn't like the service I got, so I think I am gonna switch. I was a Karen today and I didn't like it. I hate when I turn into a fucking Karen, but
I'm not the type, man. My wife is the one who has to do that stuff. I can't do it, man. I don't have it in me. I can't yell at like people who's like, it's not their fault, like I can't do it, man. I could probably rage at the AT&T help Twitter. I could probably do that.
That's what I did. I didn't yell at any of the technicians, like any of the people on the phone. Yeah. I actually hung up the phone before I got there, before I got to that point. Yeah.
So. But, all right. Well, Montrell, I did want to ask you about your Lions. They're making moves, and they re-signed Jared Goff to this huge fucking contract.
Oh,
how do you feel? You feel you on top of the world right now? Your team
is no, I'm not.
No,
I don't think they should. I think
You don't
when
like Goff?
people, I do like Goff, but I think he was playing well because he didn't have like a huge contract over his head. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he
So you
just,
think he's gonna regress?
yeah, I
He's
think
gonna pull a Zeke?
he's gonna be comfortable. I don't want that. I want people to kind of like work for what they have on the team and shit like
I
that.
don't.
Like we,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he'll do that. I think he still feels like he has a lot to prove
okay.
because dude, frankly, the Rams threw him away like last week's trash in that trade for Stafford a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a significant chip on his shoulder that I don't think he'll ever really get over. Especially given the fact that the Rams actually won a Super Bowl with Stafford after the trade, and
Yeah,
they couldn't do it with him. Um, I don't know. I feel like I would imagine he feels pretty. I don't know, like not jaded, but underappreciated. I guess. I don't know. I mean, he got the contract though, and I mean, the fucking Detroit loves the man. So, um, maybe he's just living life, living high, and maybe you're right. Maybe he will take it easy, but I can't see that though. I don't know. I feel like Dan Campbell's the kind of guy who's gonna let dudes take it easy. If you know what I mean.
yeah.
So it's interesting though. I mean, realistically, man, this is your window. These next like 3 to 4 years, this is it. This is the window for the Lions. They gotta make it happen. And I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping they can do it. I was so upset when they lost to the Niners
I was too,
in the
man.
championship game
Oh,
because they
man.
fucking had that game. They had it, and they choked it away. It's just so.
Yeah,
It's a story as old as time in sports. The team that gets a huge lead, they're the underdog, and then they just choke it away to the favorite. Because I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't feel like the Niners were that good. Um,
who won? I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. Well, I
Chiefs
was like, Chiefs
Chiefs
won.
won. They
Okay.
beat them. But the funny part was the game was horrible. Like the first like 3 quarters, like there was almost no scoring in the first 3 quarters. It was like I think it was like 6-3 or something like that. Something fucking stupid like that.
Yeah,
And then
I do remember what. Okay, did I watch that with y'all? I don't think so.
no. But me and me and Amanda were watching it, and dude, I'm telling you, by the third quarter, I was looking at my phone the whole game. I wasn't even watching the game anymore. It was so boring. It was such a terrible Super Bowl. And then they decided, in the fourth quarter that they were going to score like 37 points between the two teams. And it's like I just didn't have it in me to be excited. Plus, it's like I knew the Chiefs were gonna win. I knew the Chiefs were gonna win. So I didn't really care. I'm just like, here we go. Oh yeah, 3 out of 4 years. Great. Mahomes and the Chiefs. Whoopity doo dah. Travis Kelsey's fucking saying the same quote he said like 4 times now. You gotta fight for your right to party, whoopity doo dah, and Taylor Swift's here this time. Great. So it's just like not exciting right now. I'm just not into that's why the Lions I was rooting for them so hard because they are exciting,
Yeah,
getting new fresh blood into the championship, into the Super Bowl is fucking, that's what it's all about, man. That's the fun part of sports, but to see the Chiefs do it again is just like, oh, it's just like we're like I'm in Patriots mode with them already at this point. Like they're boring. I don't even want to see them anymore. Like I hate the Chiefs. I'm so tired of this fucking team. Fuck Mahomes, fuck Kelsey. Like I don't, it's just I'm over it. I want to see somebody different, but it's like they're too good though. It's like they're too good. So I don't know.
I
Nobody's
will
a
say
fan.
that's the difference between football and basketball.
Yeah.
Rarely do you have a dynasty in basketball. Like it flops, flip flops all the time between teams. So I will say
It's
that's
usually like that in football too. It's just like I don't know. We had this back to back thing with the Patriots, and then now the Chiefs starting, and it's like I don't know. It's a little frustrating because it's really hard to win multiple Super Bowls back to back.
yeah.
That usually does not happen much. But here we are. Like the Chiefs are, they're going to be going for a fucking three-peat. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens this year. I'm kind of hoping the Bengals come back, because Burrow was hurt last year. They feel like the one team that can really like beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like everybody else just chokes against the Chiefs, but not the
Mhm.
Bengals. The Bengals have beat them. They beat them once, and that was the year they went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Rams. So, yeah, I think they can do it. So I don't know. We'll see. But all right, Montreal, we've been dithering for 25 minutes. Let's get into the podcast here.
All right.
So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. Also, sometimes we talk about fucking football, for no reason. But we post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube Music, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com, and that is the Players Take on Twitter as well, at the Players Take. And then I got a couple announcements. So I mentioned last week, Stellar Blade review that I did was going up. It is up. It's been up since Saturday, so check that out if you want to hear my more detailed thoughts on Stellar Blade. And then also, the show is now on YouTube officially. So I'm actually going to take YouTube music out of the intro here because it's YouTube actually. We are on YouTube. We published it right before we jumped on here to record, and all the shows are on YouTube now. Every show we've ever done, and then going forward, all of our shows will be on YouTube as well. So if that's where you want to listen to us, you can do that now, which is great. I'm very happy about that. That's awesome. YouTube makes it very easy to do now for podcasts, which is cool. So, all right, Montreal, let's get into what we've been playing. Do you want to start this week, or would you like me to go
actually,
first?
my list is a lie. I haven't really played anything this week, unfortunately. I just been working and trying to clean up a lot of stuff because, like I said, I'm gonna be off for the next couple of days. So,
Okay.
I
So have you finished
actually haven't.
Rollerblade?
Yeah, I haven't finished. I haven't touched Elevate since last week. I haven't had a chance to.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. So,
Cool. Well,
um,
yeah, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the end of the game because I think it's the best part of the game. So
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get there probably after my trip. I'll get there, but yeah, for right now, I haven't really been playing too much. Just like playing emulators on my phone, which I'm really enjoying.
yeah,
I've been playing like Digimon World, redigitized, which never got released over here in America. But
yeah.
someone did do a fan translation of it on the ROM, and I'm playing that, which is a really good translation actually. So I'm playing it and I'm enjoying it, but that's pretty much all I've been playing. I've been doing that and then trying to study and fix
Mhm.
fires around the house and at work. So
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, yeah, I've been playing 2 games. First one is Final Fantasy 3 Pixel Remaster. I beat this last night. I got the platinum in it. Took about 15 hours. I think it was 15 or 15 and a half hours I clocked in at, which that clock surprised me that it was that low by the end of the game because this is an interesting game. So Final Fantasy 3 is a game that we never got in the United States in its original incarnation. Like we never got the NES game um, in any form. Like so, we did get a remake of Final Fantasy 3 in 2006 on the DS,
yeah,
and that I did play that back in the day. For like I said, I think I played it for like an hour or two, and I immediately bounced off it. Because from what I understand, that game, like that remake, like is really bloated. Like they bloated the game, and like it's like way longer than the original version of it, and it's just like it's weird. And it's like 3D. It's so ugly too. It's like a really ugly game. So this Pixel remaster is the first time we've gotten the sprite version of Final Fantasy 3, and this came out what I think it was 2021 maybe. These are fairly recent, so they haven't been out that long. So this is an interesting game in the franchise in that most people probably have not played it, which I find really intriguing because playing this game, it I think my initial reaction to it, like when I immediately started playing it within the first hour, is that okay, this is a more robust Final Fantasy One, and that is kind of true. Like ultimately, like that's pretty much true, but um it's really interesting playing the game that this game is really dense, like really dense. Like there's a lot of shit in this game. It is surprisingly large. That's why I say my clock surprised me because when you compare this to Final Fantasy 2 or Final Fantasy 1, like it feels like there's twice as many locations in the game as both of those games, you know?
Mhm.
Um and there's like there's actually a decent amount of optional content in this game too. Like there's a lot of things you don't have to do to beat the game. And that's intriguing because that's really the first time they do this. There's a little bit of optional stuff in Final Fantasy 2, but not very much. It's very, very minor. Whereas this game has a number of dungeons that are optional. I think it's at least 4 that you don't have to do at all. And That's cool because that's where this you can kind of see this is where it kind of started, right? They started kind of blowing the games out a little bit and like making them a little bit bigger and a little bit more robust. But the really interesting part about Final Fantasy 3 is like there's multiple world maps in Final Fantasy 3. And when I first started playing the game, like you see the world map and you're like, oh, okay, this game's not that big. I'm gonna be done with this pretty quick, right? And then it's like, no, there's like a whole different area that you have to go to later in the game, which is really cool. And you eventually get like a submarine at some point too, where you can go underwater. So there's actually a third map you can explore underwater as well, which is kind of cool. And there's a bunch of like different locations you can go to underwater as well, which is really interesting because that's not something I feel like Final Fantasy has really done otherwise. Like that feels like the only time I've seen that. Like I can't think of another Final Fantasy game where you like go underwater and you're exploring underwater, but I haven't played them all, so maybe there is one. But so yeah, given that this game's like got a lot of locations, like it's a really densely packed game. There's a ton of places to go. There's a lot of towns that are optional, like you don't have to go to them. The story does not take you to them. But it's interesting because a lot of them are tailored to like a specific job. Basically, like there's a town late in the game that's like tailored to the Dark Knight job. It's like it has everybody's talking about Dark Knights in this town. And then the shops are tailored to Dark Knights. It's all Dark Knight gear, or something like that. And that's true of like some of the other jobs as well, for some of the other towns, which is interesting. It's a really interesting thing. So this game though is where they introduce the job system, right? The one that Final Fantasy is kind of more known for. Your white mage, your black mage, your warrior, your thief, your monk. That kind of thing, where you can switch jobs. And at first blush, I wasn't super enthralled by it because it's like not that deep, right? You just pick your job and it kind of enables you to do certain things, and that's the job. You don't really unlock new mechanics with most of the jobs by leveling them. Some of them you do, like for instance, Bard, I believe. You unlock like a ton of shit by leveling the job by actually getting higher job level. But most of the classes are not like that, or most of the jobs aren't necessarily like that. So it's interesting. There's a lot of jobs in this game too. I'd probably say like 20 to 25 or so by the end of the game, which is a lot. I did not think there would be that many in this game. But this is where you see a lot of them start here, like the sage, the ninja. I mean, the ninja was in Final Fantasy 1, so not that one, but like the ranger, the fucking bard, is another one. You get the black belt in this game, which is like an upgraded monk, which is interesting. The That might have been in Final Fantasy 1 too, actually, now that I think about it. But the thing is, in Final Fantasy 1 it was different, obviously, because you pick your class at the beginning of the game, or your job at the beginning of the game, and that's it. You're locked into that for the whole game. You get like an advanced class upgrade at some point in that game, and that's it. You can't like switch characters. You can't make your white mage a black mage, or you can't make your white mage a warrior. You can do that here in Final Fantasy 3. The game gives you that flexibility. So you're basically given a party of just 4 like blank slates. They're whatever at the beginning of the game. They're all onion knights, and you change them to whatever you want over the course of the game. So what I really did was I had a white mage, I had a black mage, and I kind of went up those paths with those 2 characters, and then I had 2 physical fighters, kind of a warrior, kind of a heavy armor type, and then I had a monk that I eventually turned into a ninja late in the game. Um, so so yeah, there's a lot of jobs, but the job system's not like you're not like taking things from one job and bringing them to another. Really, the only statistic that carries over between jobs is your HP gains. Your HP when you level up is based on the job you are in currently. So that can change your kind of HP trajectory, but it's not major. It's nothing huge. You do have to change jobs throughout the game though, a lot. Like they'll open new jobs up to you pretty frequently. And you really can't just stick with the starter jobs. Like they are not powerful enough by the end of the game to do that. So you do need to swap and like, change jobs out. This is the game though where the Dragoon as a job makes its first appearance. Dragoons are in Final Fantasy II, I believe, but that you couldn't play as them, So this game lets you play as one though, and this is the introduction of like the jump command and all that stuff, like some of the more iconic things from Final Fantasy. Like that's introduced here. A lot of the summons are all introduced here. Like you get your Ifrit, your Ramu, your Leviathan, your like Bahamut, all that stuff is in this game, and you can cast those summons with the summoner class, which is really cool. I didn't actually do that myself, but it's in the game. You can do it, which is really interesting as well. Moogles are in this game, I believe. This is where they're introduced. Is in Final Fantasy 3, so that's another like interesting thing. You just see these like touch points of like iconic things from Final Fantasy, and it's really kind of cool to see that it kind of started. A lot of it started in this game, and it's weird that we never got this game, as a result. Like it's just so interesting to think about and like go back and look at the release schedule for the early Final Fantasy games. Like Square Soft did not want, like, they released Final Fantasy 1 and then they skipped 2 and 3 and they gave us 4, 5 and 6, I believe, but they called them 2, 3 and 4 here in the United States.
Mhm.
So they had different names, and they did that because those three, that trilogy's on the Super NES. So when they made that jump, I guess they felt like they couldn't then go back and release the old games. They just didn't think it would resonate because they're not as robust. So they never released like 2 and 3. I don't think really ever released here. I know 3 definitely didn't. 2, I'm a little fuzzier on, but so yeah, it's like it's interesting because that's where a lot of the tropes start is with Final Fantasy 3. So the other thing with this game is the story. Not great. Like it's on the same level as like Final Fantasy 1 and 2, really, in terms of storytelling. I'd say it's a little better than probably both those games. They did put a lot more effort in this time. Like your characters actually talk, or at least your party does. Like they kind of talk with one voice. Like they're not individualized characters like they were in Final Fantasy 2, but here they do speak and that you do interact with characters that will like join your party for a period of time and stuff like that. And those characters kind of have their own little arcs that happen in the game. And there are some moments in the game that happen. There's a lot of character deaths that happen, and stuff like that. But it's like it's not a great story because your party is just kind of transient through it. Like they're not really, like, obviously they're a huge part of it, but like they don't say anything, really. They don't really say a whole lot. So it's interesting. You can kind of see they were like playing around with storytelling in this game though. You can see some of the like world building they're trying to do. There are like distinct nations in this game a little bit more than in some of the prior games. There's like actually a war going on at a certain point in the game that you end up getting in the middle of and stuff like that. So there's like a little bit more robust storytelling. There's definitely some lore with the world that they really get into too, which is cool, kind of like the fabric of the world and the history of it. They do that as well, and I think it's decent enough, but ultimately it's not great storytelling. But they kind of get more into that obviously with 4 and then 6. Those are kind of the big story ones, at least of these earlier games that everybody
Mhm.
always raves about. So I'm definitely interested to get into 4 for sure, but 3 is I think, like, early in the game I wasn't feeling 3. Like I took a few days off from playing this, and then I kind of dove back in one night and I played for probably like 2 or 3 hours, and I was like, okay, I'm starting to like get this game. Like it's kind of cool. Like there's a little bit more strategy here. Like they introduce like Final Fantasy 2 had rows. You had a front row and a back row, and you could place your characters in either row. So if you wanted to, you could put your spellcasters in the back row. They'd take less damage from physical attacks, but they also would do less physical attack damage, which is it's interesting, right? And then this game has the rows as well, but you can actually switch to the rows in the middle of combat. So they play around with that a little bit more. And then you'll have times where you'll get attacked by enemies where they will do a back attack. They'll actually attack you in reverse. Like the whole screen will be reversed, where your party's usually on the right side of the screen. They will be on the left side of the screen, and the enemies will be on the right instead, and they'll be attacking you from the other side. And the people that were in your back row are actually in your front row. So you're getting attacked from behind, basically, is what they're trying to show there, which is, it's like cool. It's like it's a very like novel thing, they just reversed everything, and it's like, it's kind of a cool concept to illustrate the idea of your party getting attacked from behind or whatever, which is kind of cool. There's also the uh you know magic in this game, a little bit better than the first two games, I would say. Spellcasters in the first two games, I say particularly Final Fantasy 1, there are definitely times where they're not as useful. They come in a lot more handy in this game, certainly. I will say the other thing too with spellcasters is they went back to I mentioned this last week. They went back to the D&D style like spell slots for MP in this game, and
Yeah.
it was there were definitely times, a lot of times in this game where it was very difficult to manage your spell slots. Like there were some dungeons where I was really struggling. Like I was like down to like a few casts of heal left, or like a few offensive spell casts on my black mage. That happened a lot in the early and mid game. And it's very interesting. Like they really made this game. They really went out of their way to try to make this game challenging. And I will say this game was a lot more difficult than the first two. Um, it's still not that hard. Like obviously you have the boosts in place that you can just kind of break the whole uh, power curve of the game. I'd say 60% of the way through the game, I just kind of turned the boost on and gave up the ghost at that point. I can't play these games for that long, with their normal balance and everything like that. I just get so fucking bored. Like, so I needed the boost to survive and make it through the entire game. But even with the boost on though, late game, dude, the final dungeon in this game, dungeons, I guess I should say, there's like a 3 dungeon gauntlet they make you go through. Actually, 4 dungeon gauntlets. Sorry. There's like a 4 dungeon gauntlet you go through with no break whatsoever. Like you can't leave to then go to town and like heal or anything like that. There's no tents in the game, so you can't like heal your HP MP that way. Like you just have to go through the dungeon until you get to a certain point where you like beat a boss, and then the game will like give you like they'll rest you, basically. You get like full HP MP back and everything, and everybody will get revived. So that final dungeon, if you play it straight up, like you don't turn encounters off at any point or anything like that, like it is a long dungeon that you will be fighting a lot of enemies that can do a lot of damage. Like they did not dial back the difficulty there. And I'll be honest, that final dungeon, I did largely play it straight up. I didn't turn encounters off very much in that dungeon. So which is, it was interesting. It was actually really interesting. I'm sure in the original incarnation of this game, that gauntlet of dungeons was so fucking hard, probably like insanely difficult. So that was kind of interesting to see as well. So yeah, I don't know how much more I have to really say on Final Fantasy 3, but it was kind of cool to play. Actually, I will say one thing. I did, I always knew this was in Final Fantasy 14. Like Final Fantasy 14 has a lot of Easter eggs and kind of things taken from other Final Fantasy games in it, but there's a lot of shit from Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy 14. Montrell, do you remember the Crystal Tower raid that you had to do at the end of A Realm Reborn?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is taken directly from Final Fantasy 3. That is the final dungeon in the game, is the Crystal
Oh
Tower.
shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the one of the bosses you fight, Xande, is one of the bosses in the Final Fantasy 14 raid, and then I believe also is the Cloud of Darkness. That is the final boss for the game.
Is
You
it the
know,
same world, or are they just like using? It's just like an Easter egg for the
it's
other
an
world.
Easter egg. It's not, yeah, it's not the same world or anything like that, but it's an Easter egg. Like it exists in Final Fantasy 14 as it is, like straight up, but
Hmm.
it is like a lot of that location is ripped straight out of Final Fantasy 3 though, which is really fucking cool. So that was kind of cool to notate and like notice and see. It's like, man, that's such a cool thing that they did, because Xande is one of the bosses in the end of the game, and he is a boss in that Final Fantasy 14 raid. So which is really cool. So that was a cool thing to see as well. And Yeah, I don't know. This is one like the first two. I like two. I'm definitely never gonna play again. One I might play again just because it was so short. Three's the first one where I'm sitting there like almost like I almost want to play. Like I don't want to do it now. I definitely don't want to do it now. But like it's several years, like when I've like forgotten this game, I'd almost like to go through it again in a more authentic way where I don't like fuck with the boost, I don't turn encounters off or anything like that ever, like throughout the entire game, and just play it in a more authentic way and just see what the gameplay was like what is it, how does it actually play in that experience. Like that actually intrigues me with Final Fantasy 3. Like I'm not going to sit here and say this game's like a 10. It's not. But I think of the three I've played so far, like this one was definitely the coolest one of them. There's actually like a world here. There is some world building. Like there's stuff going on. Like the world feels more alive in this game than the other two. Like rather than their like the first two games, like the locations just feel like places you're kind of like going to, and they just look like set pieces almost. Whereas this game feels a little bit more like it's kind of trying to build some kind of world. It's trying to like
Yeah.
immerse you in something, which is cool. So yeah, it's an interesting game. It's definitely an interesting game. I think this one of the three is definitely the one worth playing the most for sure of the original three. And it's definitely the one I probably have liked the most so far. And yeah, I don't know. It's a cool game. Yeah, you've obviously, I don't think you've ever played Final Fantasy 3, right?
I played the remake a little bit, but or the remaster on DS, but I haven't like finished it.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. Any interest in like going back to these?
I was thinking about going back to 4, but I'm not sure yet.
Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, I'm gonna start 4 up probably in the next week or two. So definitely interested again, and that's the one I've been like chomping at the bit to get through because everybody was like over the moon about that game, and I've never played anything other than the DS remake of that one, which that game also sucks. It's just like it's a very bad way to experience Final Fantasy 4, and that's the way I experienced it. That's the only way I've experienced it. So I'm kind of excited to play more of an original version of it. In the pixel art style. So I'm excited to get to that. I'll be getting to that at some point. So, other game I've been playing. I didn't play it much. So, everything I'm about to say, I just need to give a caveat. I played this game for an hour, okay? And that game is Wuthering Waves. It came out yesterday, right? This is a gotcha game. Third person action game, open world, very similarly structured to Genshin in that regard in terms of what it is. But this is a game Montrell and I have been eyeballing for quite a while because we saw a game that had a lot of potential in its combat, or seemingly did. And oh man, Montreal, I want you to play this and I want to know what you think because this first hour of the game so far, I just think they made a Genshin clone, like hardcore Genshin clone, outside of the combat. Like everything just screams Genshin Impact outside of the combat. Like it's so disappointing last night. I'm playing this game and I'm just like, bro, this is just Genshin. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, why did they do this? Because from what I understand, this game had a closed beta test way back in the day, like a year or
Yeah.
two ago. And they got a shit ton of negative feedback after that beta test. And they changed the game a lot after that, supposedly. Like, there was a quote floating out there that I saw where they said they rewrote 90% of the story or something like that after that beta test. And yeah, dude, whatever they decided to do, whether that's true or not, whatever the outcome was, not good. This story is a nonsensical absolute garbage. Like it's so bad. Like, dude, people make fun of Genshin for having dialogue bloat, which is true. It's one of the worst parts of Genshin Impact. This is just how much dialogue there is and like how unnecessary the vast majority of it is. This game has that as well. And it's the same kind of nonsense where they just make up words, they make up phrases like Montreal. I don't remember the exact quotes from what I played last night, but dude, some of the sentences they're saying where like there's like this thing. There are these riffs that come out and they're called fuck, what the fuck do they call them? They call them like tacits or something. Hold on, tacit. Yeah, they call them tacit discords. Like,
What?
what is this name, bro? They're gonna say this every single dialogue line. Tacit this, tacit discord that, tacit, 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 and it's just like, what are you talking about? And then they're making up terminology. Like, these games are so bad about this, where they just make up their own words. Like, if you ever read a Genshin Impact character ability sheet, like, and you read the abilities they do, like, bro, they just make up terminology in Genshin Impact to describe what their characters do all the time, and it's so fucking funny. It's insane. Like, some of the dumb shit they come up with. But so this game's gonna end up doing the same thing. I can see it already. I haven't done a lot, but it's there. And dude, like, the structure of the game just seems like it's Genshin. Like dude, your characters, right? So you'll have a character. They're called resonators. You can have 4 of them in your party at a time, I believe, and you swap them in the same way you swap out in Genshin. So you have that same kind of combat loop, and then they have these abilities that this game calls intro and outro attacks. So you'll like build up this energy in combat, and when it builds up to a certain point, your character, you can swap your character, and they'll do something on the way out of being swapped. Like, they'll do an attack or something like that, and it's like a powered up ability. I'm sure they'll do various things like this, where they'll, one character might give a buff, or or debuff the enemy or something like that. And then the other character you bring in, they have an intro ability, where they'll do something when they come in. They'll do an ability when they come into the battlefield. And it's like a cool concept in theory, but I'm of the mind that this doesn't. I think they thought this was like some way of like differentiating themselves from Genshin, but Genshin's meta of combat is just swapping constantly. Like, you swap ability, swap ability, swap ability. Like, that's all you're doing in Genshin. It's just spamming that basically constantly. And then eventually, when you get enough energy, you swap ultimate ability, swap ultimate ability. Like, that's what you're doing in Genshin for the most part. That's like the gameplay. And I think the same thing's going to end up happening in this game because of the way they structure these like intro outro things. It's like, that's going to be the meta in this game, probably, is doing a lot of swapping. And it's like, I was kind of hoping for a game that was a little bit more, I don't know, like back and forth focus with an enemy, where it's like, it's more action, character action game style combat.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's where it's going to land ultimately. It may play like that when you're leveling, but I'm sure the late game meta is probably going to be this like insane bursty fucking swap meta that Genshin Impact has. I can already feel that forming the way I'm playing the game. And it's just not. It's, I'm sure it's fun for some people, but god damn, it's just so fucking annoying. Like, your characters are on the field for like 3 seconds in Genshin. It's fucking stupid. Um, so getting into the actual combat though, like mechanically, right? Like, how does it feel to play? And I do think it's better than Genshin from a base level in terms of just like base mechanics. Like, you have a dodge in the game. I don't believe there's a block. There's not a block or like a parry thing you can do, by pressing a button or anything like that. But you do have a dodge, and if you time the dodge right when the enemy's attack comes down, the game will do like kind of a slowdown effect briefly. And it is cool, but whatever. Games have done that before. It's nothing special. And then basically you have a single attack button, square, that you utilize, and that's your basic attack, and that's it. Like, at least for the main character I have right now, maybe that changes for future characters. They might have different gameplay mechanics to them. But for your main character, you just hit square and you do a 4-hit combo, and that's pretty much it with the character in terms of that kind of attack. Which, by attacking, you'll build up an energy bar, and then eventually you'll be able to unleash an ability. I believe, I don't remember what it's called, but you unleash an ability when that bar kind of opens up, and each character has a different kind of charge mechanic. Like, the main character needs 2 bars to charge, and they can use 1 bar to use the ability. It's on triangle for a PlayStation controller. You can use that twice in succession. Then there's another character that has 3 separated bars instead for their ability, and when they charge up all 3, they can unleash like kind of like a super attack. with their ability. And then these characters have an ultimate, just like Genshin as well. With that, and when you there's kind of a different energy for that, that you build up. But ultimately, I'm not impressed so far. The game looks terrible, like graphically, like it does not look good. It runs like shit on my PC, at least. Maybe this is something I need to look into and tweak some settings to fix. But I was having frame drops like crazy yesterday, which is not really normal for my computer. I don't really have that problem with any other game. Also, movement is very janky. Um, like running around the environment does not feel good. Like dude, the jump, oh my god. When you get in this game and you start jumping, you're going to be what is happening when I jump? Like your character jumps like really high in the air, but they don't move forward really very much at all, you know? Like there's no
Mhm.
forward momentum to the jump. So they just kind of jump straight up and they move like a couple feet forward, It's like it doesn't feel like a very good jump. It doesn't feel super useful either. There is a climbing mechanic in the game, just like Genshin with the stamina bar, same kind of thing as like Genshin or Breath of the Wild. Um, the only interesting part about that, I guess, is you can like wall run, sort of. You can like run up a wall. It uses your stamina really fast, but you'll cover a lot of distance quickly, which is, I guess, kind of cool, sort of. But what else? What else is there? I mean, that's really it so far. I don't know. I'm just not impressed. Oh, I guess like let me get back to the characters real quick. So characters, you have a weapon just like Genshin. There's no other equipment. In terms of like you don't have armor or like a helmet or anything like that. It's just literally just your weapon. And that is the same gotcha mechanic as Genshin has. So they are going to have a weapon gotcha with the character gotcha. Those will be two separated banners. They're already doing that in this first wave or first set of banners. So that's going to be their business model here too, is trying to get whales to buy fucking weapons in this game, which is whatever. I haven't actually unlocked the gotcha yet, so I don't know what the rates are. I'm going to be extremely. I'm going to laugh a lot if they are the same as Genshin's rates, because I mean, like most of the game so far is just screams Genshin Impact copy. And like if I get to that point and they're literally just copying the drop rates too for the gotcha, like it's like, dude, like what the fuck? Like so the other things, there's an artifact system in the game as well, just like Genshin, same thing. There seems to be a point system in this game though. So there are some differences here between this one and what Genshin's is when you kill an enemy, they will leave an echo behind and you can absorb that echo and it will basically give you what amounts to what would be an artifact in Genshin Impact. And the drops are randomized, what stats they give you are randomized, but you can put those on your character and each one of those has a point value and your character has a certain number of points that they have available to them. So right now my character has 10 points, that they can use for these. And then the first one I got like used 3 points. So I have 7 more points that I can use. The only other interesting thing with this is that the first one that you equip, like the one that's at the top of your equipment list, for this, will give you an ability tied to the monster that it's from. So that is interesting. That may layer some more interesting gameplay in there. Like it lets you, like the one I got is like from a rock golem, and you like turned into the rock golem and you did this like charging attack with it, which was kind of interesting. So maybe there'll be some really interesting ones there potentially from certain enemies. I imagine there could be some depth there, but um, yeah. I mean, so far that's all I really got. I mean, like I said, I've only played for an hour, but my impression of it right now is that it's kind of just a Impact clone that looks worse, runs worse, and has a worse story, terrible dialogue, bad voice acting, and maybe a little bit better the combat. Like that's it right now. So if that appeals to you, check it out. But dude, I don't think people are very happy with this game right now. I was scouring Reddit a little bit earlier, and all the discussion threads right now on it, most of the opinions are like, I am so disappointed in this game. It's just a fucking Genshin Impact clone. I was really hoping for something else. And
So I mean,
yeah.
like, what was everybody hoping for?
I
Like,
think I mean, I think
people want
it's
like a level based game, or what did they want?
I think they just wanted a game that wasn't Genshin Impact. We have Genshin Impact. Like, why are you making Genshin Impact? Like, I don't. That's what I don't understand here. Because I think the other thing is the combat, dude. Like, I think you and I were both eyeballing this game because we saw some interesting gameplay from it online, and like when I'm playing it, I'm just like, dude, it's just Genshin Impact with like a few more mechanics. Like, it's not that interesting, you know. It's like,
Mhm.
even dude, even the fucking like enemy health bars literally are just ripped straight out of Genshin. They look exactly the same as Genshin's. I'm like, what are you doing? What is this? Like, why did you do this? You know? Like, I don't like, dude, we've seen this before. Like, Tower of Fantasy tried this shit. I honestly, I would argue that game's more unique than this, probably. Like, from what I've seen of it, you know, at least they like didn't try to make their game look like Genshin Impact as much, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, I like want to play more of it just to like kind of get in and maybe get some more characters rolling the gotcha a bit with like the free currency they give you and kind of just see what I get and maybe play around with some of those characters and kind of see what that looks like. But dude, so far I'm super disappointed with it. It's like, I don't know. I mean, what does that sound like to you? Like, do you think based on what you've seen, does it like sound unreasonable, or like are you less interested in the game, more interested in the game? Like,
I mean, I don't know what to expect from the game.
yeah,
I do want better combat. My whole thing was with Genshin, I couldn't get into the combat. In my opinion, it was not for me. So I haven't played Genshin for hours, unlike you
yeah,
or other people. So to me, this would probably be like a unique experience for me.
yeah,
Um, and as far as like the story, I personally think even when I was playing Genshin, I think I put like 10 hours, 10 or 15 hours to Genshin. Like I wasn't really impressed by the story. I was like, oh, okay, they got a little bit something. I was impressed by like
mhm,
the voice acting and everything like that, but I
yeah.
always didn't expect the story to be great. I
Well,
just wanted like something to where I can constantly play the game and experience different characters and combat and stuff like that.
hmm,
Um, that's kind of what I wanted. I kind of wish it was level based, kind of like Honkai Third
okay,
Impact.
yeah.
Um, but then people would just say go play that, but I can only play that on mobile, I believe. I don't think they have a PC version of that game.
They might now. They actually like remade the game recently. Like, it
Okay.
looks completely different. They like made it 3D and stuff. So I mean, yeah. So with Genshin, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say the story's great in Genshin. However, they do have great stories within that game. It's just the problem with Genshin became bloat, where they feel the need to bloat a 2 minute conversation into a 10 minute conversation, you know, between
Yeah.
characters, and they do it all the time, constantly, every single fucking cutscene, and it's so annoying where like I am like reading the conversation and I feel like the conversation is over and I'm like, I click and like they say something again about the same thing they've already talked about, and then I'm like, okay, and then you click again and they just keep going, they just like keep going, and then and then I get like really impatient sometimes and I just start clicking and I'm like, click 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 click, click. And like, dude, I'll sit there for 30 seconds clicking X and I'm like, how is this conversation still going? It was over like fucking 35 lines ago. Like, what are you still talking about, you know? So it's like, so that's Genshin's problem, and Honkai Star Rail is not as bad with this, but this is the other issue with these games is they are carrot on a stick games, like, bad. And this is kind of why I like picked up Honkai Star Rail a few weeks ago. I had mentioned and I dropped it again like within a week of talking about it because, dude, I'm just so tired of these games. Like, this has become a Hoyoverse trope, and I think Wuthering Waves is going to end up doing the same thing. Is like nothing ever actually happens in the story. You know, it's like they're like, oh my god, something's probably going to happen in the future. Oh god, it's going to be so fucking epic, and then it never happens. Like, you know, it's just, or it takes like 3 years for it to happen, and it's like, dude, like, Jesus Christ, like, get to the fucking point, you know? At some point, something needs to happen, you know? And it's like they just do that over and over and over and over and over again. And like within Genshin, I would say the Archon quests are pretty good, but like they're just annoying because there's this our overarching narrative that's actually really interesting that they never do anything. They never touch it. Like, They barely ever touch it. They give you like 1 or 2 hours of story about that every region, and that's all you get for the year, you know. And it's like, and they're just stringing you along, you know. And it's like, I just, it just got so irritating. So I feel like Wuthering Waves is going to do the same shit ultimately. Because, bro, dude, oh my god, some of the dialogue at the beginning of this game, you're gonna play this game and you're probably gonna text me and DJ and you're gonna be like, what is happening in this game? What are they talking about? Tacit discords and fucking tacit resonators and fucking whatever the fuck this shit is, you know. It's like, it's just it's like, I
Sounds
don't
like typical anime shit to me, brother.
dude, it's so much worse than that. It's so much worse than that. Like, at least in most anime, like, these things make sense. They explain what they are and they make sense and they don't sound stupid. This game just sounds fucking stupid. You know, it's just like complete nonsense shit that they're talking about, man. So I really actually want you to play it. I want to see what you think. Maybe I'm being too hard on it as somebody who's played Genshin. I probably played Genshin for like a year and a half of its lifespan, probably, pretty consistently. So I'm very familiar with that game, but I do think this game has the basis for something that's better, but I don't think it's like better right now, you know, or at least what I've played of it so far. It just,
Okay.
it feels, and maybe that's just the main character. The MC is like a really boring character to play. That's another issue with these games, is that fun gameplay is often locked behind the gacha. You know, this is true in Genshin as well. Where, like, you know, a character will come out that has unique mechanics, and that's true for every character that comes out. So you need to roll on the gacha in order to get that character and actually have that fun gameplay part of your account, you know. It's like, so that's why, like, I just, again, I would never encourage people to play these games. Like, don't play gacha games. Like, they're not worth it. There are much better games you can go out there and play that won't try to psychologically manipulate you into spending money on fucking pixels, you know. So so yeah, I don't know. That's my review of Wuthering Wave so far, and I'm not impressed. I am not impressed. I'm highly disappointed, in fact, so far. But I want to play more tonight because I want to get to the gacha and I want to roll on it. I want to see what it's about, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what are the rates, you know, what's it, you know, is it reasonable? How much does the currency cost? Because I don't know any of that information right now. Is it completely insane like Genshin, where it's like you get like 50 pulls for $100 or something, which is nothing, you know? That's like nothing in Genshin. It's like, or is it more reasonably priced because they don't think they can compete on that level? I don't know. So we'll see. So yeah, I don't know. Are you planning on playing it this weekend at all, or?
Hopefully I get a chance to play it. I don't think so because I'm like, you know, where I'm going and everything. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
right.
too
You're
sure.
leaving.
Yeah. So
But I mean, in general, like, after, I guess when you do have free time, like, do you want to play this?
yeah, I do. I'm gonna try to download it tonight and just play like an hour or two of it and everything like that.
Okay. Oh, there is one more thing I didn't mention too in the combat. So there is like a parry mechanic, but it seems to be tied to certain enemies. Like, there was a boss I fought where you could parry his attacks by timing, like hitting a certain timing. There'd be like a circle on screen that would like condense down into another circle, and when they converged, you hit square and you'll parry the attack they're doing.
Okay.
But that is not like a consistent thing you can do. Like, you can't do that against every enemy. It's only certain ones, it looks like. So so I don't know. I guess that's kind of interesting too. But yeah. So okay, Montreal. Let's get into the news. Let's start with our first story, which is from Dual Shockers. Creative Assembly is reportedly working on a Total War Star Wars game, and this is coming from a source of theirs. That Creative Assembly is working on 3 new projects that are Total War games, and one of them is potentially Star Wars themed. The other 2 we do not know what they are, but Star Wars is obviously the big one. Montreal, 2 questions, I guess. Have you played Total War before? And
Yes.
okay, and does a Star Wars themed Total War game sound appealing to you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I can see it happening. I
Yeah.
think I'll be if it's anything like Total War Warhammer,
Mhm.
3.
Yeah.
I actually like that structure. I actually like how you can do a lot of stuff outside of the battle, more economy based stuff and get little power ups and stuff like that. So if they have a structure like that where I can like actually, you know, talk to different factions and stuff like that, and maybe team up with them or betray them or stuff like that,
Yeah.
I would like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure if they're going to do that with the Star Wars game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here, but I don't like I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. When I played Total War Warhammer, I was so disappointed by what I played of it. Like the map, like the tactical, not the tactical, the strategy, gameplay on the like world map just seemed really shallow to me. Like there just was not a lot going on there, and I found that really disappointing. The RTS combat was excellent. It's as great as it's always been, probably. But I just that 4X aspect of the game just wasn't really deep enough for me. Um, so hearing this with Star Wars, obviously it's an interesting IP in this kind of gameplay structure. Certainly, I think they could do a lot of interesting things here in the sense that you will have individual planets that you have like a map on the way you would in like a normal Total War game, but then you also have like the galaxy overall, where you might have multiple planets that you're going to and doing stuff on, which I think is very interesting. And then there's obviously the concept of the battles, of course, where you have on foot battles. I'm sure there'll be like Jedi involved and shit. And then I think the thing that would be really interesting, though, would be space battles in the Star Wars universe in a Total War game would be really fucking cool. So that's the part that kind of gets me excited, I guess. Like, I'll probably check this out if it comes out. And honestly, if our whole like group wants to play and stuff, um, this might be a game that gets me back into multiplayer potentially, but I just don't know. I don't know if Total War is really for me though, honestly, based on what I played a Total Warhammer.
Yeah, I'm iffy on it. I mean, in the Star Wars, to be honest with you, I am completely burned out of Star Wars. I actually do not want to see anything Star Wars for like the next couple of years. I
Yeah.
would be totally fine. Only thing I think the only way I would come back to Star Wars if that Knights of the Old Republic shit is real. But besides that, like
Yeah.
I haven't watched the Acolyte, or I'm not excited for the Acolyte. I just think it's a little bit too late for me. Um, and yeah, even with this, it's like a little bit too late. Like we should have done this like 5 years ago. You know,
Yeah.
I just don't care anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of people that feel like me. We're just like, I, even even with Star Wars in general, like the IP and not just the people managing it, but the people watching it, like the fans and stuff like that. I'm tired of everybody. Like every time I turn on, like I try to like engage in Star Wars content to get hyped. There's always some person on there trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Like bait engagement with it as far as like stuff. And like there's a meme that says like don't fuck with Fallout fans. We never played the fucking games. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's like that with Star Wars fans as well. Like don't fuck with Star Wars fans because they never read or watched any of the content that is Star Wars. Because like for instance for Acolyte, right? They're showing the scene where they're doing hand to hand combat with the Jedi and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then some very popular fucking uh Star Wars account was like, they don't do this. They learn their martial arts is based off samurai and some martial art samurai or martial art. They primarily use swords and whatever. And it's like shut up because there actually is a fucking Jedi martial art. They showed it in the original, the prequels, and they showed it in Clone Wars when Mace Windu lost his
Mm-hmm.
fucking lightsaber and shit like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I'm totally out of Star Wars at this point. And when I saw this, I was just like, "Oh, this would have been cool for like Montrell like 5 years ago." But Montrell today truly gives no fucks. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people in my age are like that, who are like dedicated Star Wars fans, but not like the racist kind. We're just like tired of it.
I mean, I am, dude. Like, I'm I've never, I don't know. I don't think I've ever really been a big Star Wars fan, if I'm being honest with you.
No,
Like,
I get it now. I used to be like, how could you not be a Star Wars fan? You know, but now I get it. It's just it's a mediocre
I just
franchise.
don't think it's ever been that good. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I never really thought it was that good. Like, dude, I watched the original trilogy in, I don't remember, probably, I don't know, the early aughts, maybe late 90s, somewhere in there.
mhm.
And I remember coming away from it thinking A New Hope's a fun movie, is like a really fun movie. It's not like amazing or anything like that, but it's a fun movie. And then I think Empire Strikes Back, I think the hype is real with that movie. Like, I actually
No,
do
that's a
think
good
that movie,
movie. That's
I
a
do
good
think
fucking
that's
movie.
genuinely like an excellent movie within itself, just as a singular movie. And then Return of the Jedi, dude, is a fucking just a giant meme. Like, I fucking can't stand that movie. Like, I think that movie sucks. Like, straight up. Like, it like everybody's like, you know, the original trilogy is so great. And I'm like, dude, you guys have blinders on, bro. If you think like the end of Return of the Jedi is literally where the seeds were planted for the prequels, you know? Like, sincerely, because the dude, the Ewoks, all the nonsense with the fucking Ewoks, and frankly, like, you know, Han Solo and Leia and Chewie have nothing to do in the back half of that movie. Like, they're just there because they have to be, you know? But they're not doing anything interesting whatsoever, you know, in that movie. So it's like, I just don't think it's a great. I don't know. I don't think it's a great film. But um, anyways, to get back onto like Star Wars in general, like
Yeah.
given that opinion that I have, I've never really like. Obviously, the prequels are worse than the original trilogy for the most part. As much as I actually like Episode
No,
3 for the
I
most part, you
yeah,
know.
I enjoy the prequels for what they are. I don't like two, episode two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I enjoy
Oh,
episode two because it put a lot of lore as far as like expanding in the universe within that
yeah,
area.
yeah,
A lot of good games and books came from that era right
yeah,
there. So that's why I do have a soft spot for two. But like two on its own, a standalone, terrible movie. Um, but yeah, three is probably one of the best ones. I even go to say like I like three more than four in Return of the Jedi. It's like the second up there next to
yeah,
um Empire Strikes Back because three is just really fucking good. Um, and then
yeah,
one is just nonsensical bullshit. I mean, I only like the Duel of Fates fight with one where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and fucking uh uh Darth Maul. Like that was probably one of the best fights. Not the best fight, but one of the best fights. And I mean, that's another thing with Star Wars too. Like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how it's just a series that has so much potential, but gets people that have no fucking vision or imagination. I just don't understand why the choreography is just so fucking trash.
mm-hmm.
Like even the later one, like I like the prequel choreography. I like it or whatever. And I can understand why people say like, "Oh, it looks like a dance," but like lore wise, I understand why they move the way they move like that. They're moving so fast, or they're not moving so fast. Their movements and the way they're thinking, they're making on the fly decisions, and it's going so fast, and they're so experienced that it looks like a dance to the average user, but to them, they're like actually fucking struggling, But I understand lore wise, but I can understand to the common user why that shit looks like trash or whatever.
Right.
But to me, the sequel trilogy, like I was expecting, like we came a long way from fucking choreography since those two movies or those two sets of movies, and it just got progressively worse. And then even the shows, it just got even worse. And I was just like, all right, well, this is not I just don't think Star Wars is for me. Like, and that sucks because like my whole personality, but like my whole thing was Star Wars. I love Star Wars, and like for me to just give up on it, like, I mean, bravo Disney, you finally you know tethered me or took me from the fucking tit of fucking Star Wars because that shit's ass now. Like I don't
Yeah.
engage with it at all. The games that have come out, I don't engage with it at all. They're still stuck in the same fucking eras. Like, I'm tired of being in that same fucking galactic era. I don't care about what happened between episode 3 and 4. I just don't fucking care anymore. We got so many games, so many books, so many comics. It's only so many places Vader can be. You know, like, I don't fucking care anymore. Like,
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor is a really good game. I just don't fucking care anymore. And that's where I came back from those games. And I kind of want to take back what I said earlier about those games being kind of, especially Survivor, like I didn't give it a fair shot. It's not the game's bad. The game's phenomenal. I just, in my opinion, I'm not in the headspace for Star Wars anymore. I just don't care about the franchise anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this kind of proved it because I always kind of wanted like an RTS Star Wars game, but I just don't fucking care anymore. Or like all this shit is just a little too late for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand. Um, I'm in the same boat really. I mean, it's like the concept of this game sounds cool. Like I'll probably check it out, you know. It's like I think the reason being is that there's no story here, right? It's just like a war game. And I think
Yeah.
that's the context that I can get behind with Star Wars now. Um Even a story driven Star Wars game, I'm not necessarily against. Like you said, the Star Wars Jedi games, the first one in particular, like I like that game. Like I don't hate that game. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think the story in it's terrible or anything like that.
Yeah.
I haven't played, Survivor, but I would like to at some point. It's just that I'm not like frothing at the mouth for Star Wars content, so I don't care that much. So,
Yeah,
um,
I've just been let down too much, like as far as like creativity and imagination. The one, and you know what? That's my fault, and I let it go. But the one game that was like peak for me was Force Unleashed. It kind of showed what someone can do when they have a good IP, and then they just go balls to the walls with it. They just don't fucking care, and
yeah, yeah,
it aged really bad now. But like at the time, pulling down a Star Destroyer, crazy. That was fucking amazing to me. You can pull down a Star Destroyer with the Force. You can stop Tie Fighters with the Force. Like you have the lightning and stuff, and you can imbue it with your fucking lightsaber and shit like that. And we
yeah.
just never got anything else since that. And no one's tried to do anything else since that. So
Mhm.
it is what it is.
Yep, totally understood. All right, Montreal, let's move on. Our next story, Nintendo has acquired the Switch port studio, Shiver Entertainment, from Embracer Group. This team has done a number of ports, including Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat 1. It's kind of interesting because they're not particularly, the ports they've done are not particularly like well lauded or anything like that necessarily. But I mean, they are also working with limited hardware in the Switch. So this feels to me like this is more of a setup move for the next generation of Nintendo. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a. I actually don't have too much to say about this because like I think it's just a really good move to get this team. They've been working with their
Mhm.
equipment forever, um, as a
Yeah.
support studio or a port studio,
Yeah.
and so they know your equipment back and forth. And now that you're going to get even stronger equipment, possibly with the Switch 2, um, they can probably be they can probably be used as a third party like money grab for Nintendo to get other third party companies to make games for them and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I think it's a good move to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it makes a ton of sense with where Nintendo's about to be. I mean, I think we're getting the new console announcements probably happening soon-ish. There's a lot of rumors about whether it's coming out, the hardware's coming out this year or next year. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be early next year, but you know, given
Yeah, there
that,
was an article that said that they may break the silence around April 2025.
yeah,
So
yeah. So, given that though, I think it's smart to have a team that can help port third party games to your platform. Especially with Nintendo's. They struggle with third parties over their history. It's like they've been like since the '90s. It's been like an on and off relationship with third party companies. A lot of their hardware has been buoyed by their own output. So
yeah,
this makes a lot of sense for them going forward, I think. All right, Montrell, let's move on. V Rising. This game has been pretty big hit on PC. A lot of people talking about it. This is a game I want to play myself personally, but it is only on PC right now, and it is coming to PS5 a lot sooner than I think we all thought. It's coming on June 11th. This was just announced a few days ago, and that is pretty cool. I ended up buying it on PC personally. I think I would rather play it there. I don't really want to wait for this game on. I want to play it sooner than June 11th. So I did get it there, and I also don't know if it's going to be like cross-platform either. So I think if any of our friends got it, they would play it on PC. So I just
Yeah.
went that platform. But Marshall, any interest for you playing this game on PS5?
Yeah, I might check it out. I'm not on PS5, but maybe PC.
Okay.
They do have a Castlevania edition of the game, so that's
Yes,
really
I did
cool.
buy that. I did buy that DLC, dude. It
Okay.
looks so fucking awesome. Like the stuff you get, you actually get a lot of stuff with it too. A lot of cosmetics. And I mean, dude, it's just perfection. You know, it's a vampire game. You're making your own vampire castle with your Castlevania fucking coffin and shit. You know, it's like that shit's really cool. I think they have a skin too where you can be like Alucard or something, which
Okay.
is fucking sick. Like that's awesome. And you can turn into the Alucard wolf, I think, too, which is really cool. So very interesting stuff there. So yeah, coming on June 11th. If you've been waiting for this game on console, well, it is coming soon, and I don't know. Seems like a worthwhile one to check out too, based on everything I've seen of it. So, all right. Watch, let's move on to our next story. More games coming. This time to Steam. Square Enix announced that the entire Kingdom Hearts series is coming to Steam. Finally, man, 2024. It's coming on June 13th, and this was accompanied with a new trailer of all the games. Where I will tell you, if you have not played Kingdom Hearts, do not watch this trailer for the love of God. Like they literally spoil the end of literally every game in this fucking trailer. But no, I did. Did you like the new music? Like there was a different rendition of the oh God, what's the fucking song? I can't remember what the song is. That's
I know what
playing.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. I did not check out this trailer, because I just don't fucking care.
yeah. Simple and clean is what it is.
Simple and clear, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I am I am glad for one reason, and I think the modding community for Kingdom Hearts has always been super fucking large,
Oh
and they are
no,
going to have a field day with this game.
I
And
didn't even think about that. Oh
um,
no.
I actually can't wait to see the mods they come out with, because they already been modding the just the regular ROMs and stuff like that, and doing crazy shit with it. Like they include like a boss rush mode, and and even made their own characters, or existing characters have their own move sets and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's going to be really really interesting to see what they do with an actual PC version of the game.
yeah.
So I might pick it up just because the modding scene is going to be so fucking bonkers, in my
Bro,
opinion.
you know you're ready for like Shrek. It's to be there with Sora and
I mean, they may actually make us fucking Shrek World or something like that.
absolutely,
Somebody
dude.
like
Man, they're
they,
gonna they're gonna do a better job than Square Enix.
yeah. They did say, however, speaking of Kingdom Hearts, unfortunately, I was exposed to uh, like news, as far as I can't escape Kingdom Hearts. I don't know why, but it looks like there's a huge leaker, who's been leaking information about Kingdom Hearts, and he's been
Yeah.
right. He's been 100% right on everything he leaked so far. And apparently, like, the new Kingdom Hearts is coming at the end of next year or something like that. They changed the way it looks or whatever.
Hmm.
It doesn't look as realistic as it's supposed to look, but Sword does take place in the real world, and apparently it's supposed to have like Persona elements to it. So,
Yeah.
soft online features, day by day activities that you can do with Sword in the real world. They has to run and everything of that nature.
Hmm.
So I'm interested in that, more so than anything else. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, this will be interesting though. If this is coming to Steam, if it has a excuse me, if it has a Steam Deck version of the game, or if it's Steam Deck compatible, I think I might pick it up just for that. Like I might pick up the Steam Deck and get this, because that's my biggest problem with Kingdom Hearts. I don't want to sit down and play it anymore. It's one of those games I want to kind of play on the go, and I can't do that with the Switch because it's only the streamed version of the game on Switch
Oh,
or the
that
cloud
sounds
version.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds great. Kingdom Hearts on Steam Deck, man.
yeah,
Because that brings me back to like Birth by Sleep, playing that on PSP.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was such a great game to play on the go. No, I mean, I have all the games on PS4, so I'm not personally interested in this necessarily. But I think it is cool that they're bringing it fine because the games have been on Epic Games Store, I guess, for a really long time. Actually, it's kind of weird that they went there for so long. Whatever deal that they made with Epic there, but I actually think they'll get some pop on Steam. Like they're gonna sell some copies
Oh yeah, they're
of
gonna sell a whole bunch of copies, and a lot of people don't want to go to fucking Epic Game Store, and that's
yeah,
understandable.
yeah, no, for sure. And I don't know. So yeah, no, the mod season though sounds like a lot of fun. Frankly, and maybe somebody will fix Frozen in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And maybe they'll find some code in
yeah,
there that shows that what was
oh
really
yeah,
supposed to happen.
data miners maybe.
Yeah,
Nah, I feel like that already would have happened on Epic Game Store, but maybe
yeah, that's
not.
true. That's
I don't
true.
know. Well, yeah. So those are coming on June 13th. So I would imagine they're going to be Steam Deck compatible. I would be really surprised if you're not.
Yeah, because I don't think they're that powerful. I mean, maybe Kingdom Hearts 3 is really powerful, but even that,
You could play that on a PS4 though. It's like
yeah, exactly. And the Steam Deck is like a mini PS4 at this point. So
pretty much, yeah. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but yeah, for the love of God, don't watch that trailer if you've not played the games and actually want to play them. So, all right, Montrell, let's move on to our final story, which is on Hellblade 2. So, Senua Saga Hellblade 2 came out this week, and we'll get into how it's doing here in a bit in our last segment. But Ninja Theory released an announcement on Twitter from their studio head, Dom Matthews, before the game came out on May 20th. And I just want to read this because I just found, like, you sent this to us, and man, I read this and I just found this whole thing extremely peculiar. So I'm gonna read a quote. Hi everyone. As we sit on the eve of the release of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, I wanted to thank you, our fans, on behalf of everyone here at Ninja Theory. We see you and we hear you when you give us such love and support, when you tell us how much Senua means to you, when you tell us how much you are looking forward to the game and how much faith you have in us to continue Senua's story in a way that does justice to the connection so many of you have to her and Hellblade. From the very beginning of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, we have had you in mind, and I truly hope that when you play the second chapter of Senua's story, you will find that the familiar connection once again, and that also so many more people will find their way to Senua in her world too. Making video games is difficult. Much like Senua, we as a team have been guided by a conviction to achieve our quest, to make a game that sinks you deep into Senua's world and to take you on a journey that leaves you thinking and feeling. I believe we have achieved our quest, and I hope you'll agree. I'm very proud of the game, very proud of our team, and very proud of you, our fans, who have supported us on this magical journey. Thank you, Don Matthews, studio head. End quote. I mean, why did they send this out? You know?
I tweeted. I think this is like their obituary.
Yeah. This
This
feels so, like, almost desperate to me, you know?
yeah, this seems like their obituary, and unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, man. Like we kind of called it, but it's almost like I didn't want to be like very judgmental or or negative towards it or whatever. But yeah, when they released the game, I forgot the game was even coming out.
Yeah.
I see no hype behind it. Which every game doesn't need hype, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think they were very upfront with the game. The game is only $50 and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
It's on Game Pass if you have it. And unfortunately, due to the cuts that Xbox has made over the past couple of weeks, I fear that they may be on a chopping block, which is really sad because Ninja Theory is a very talented studio, despite the reserves people may have about them about their crimes with Devil May Cry. I don't even think that studio head's there anymore.
Yeah.
Who did the
Yeah.
Devil May Cry stuff? Um, he made those remarks and stuff like that, and they had to really build themselves up from that. But they made great games, and I really hope they get a second chance to make something else.
Yeah.
I think they should really go back into their action game, character action game bag. They were kind of digging into before. They were the one Western studio who kind of got it right. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, I mean this. I read this, and that's why I sent it to you guys. But I meant to say that in the chat, but I got distracted with work. But yeah, I read this like this was their obituary. I just like this is fucking sad. Like you should be over the hills happy for your game release, but you're like, yeah, we know what's coming. Like, and I don't know who to blame for that. Should I blame Xbox for that? Or should I blame them for that? Or should I blame the gamers for having the expectation? Like, there's so many conversations around this game that is just not going to have a positive outcome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I like the game for what it is. I haven't played the second one, obviously, but the first one, I liked the first one for what it was. It was a soft action game with like, you know, puzzle elements and everything of that nature. And I thought that was really cool and really different route.
Hmm.
However, I don't know how to say this without sounding like an asshole. I think people are tired of like the quote unquote artistic route of gaming. I think people just want to play cool games and do cool shit. And
Right.
that is an art in itself, right? Um, but I think people are tired of the once again like don't take the Last of Us esque type games.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Last of Us had actual gameplay in it and everything. Like this game has actual gameplay, but this game's gameplay is like really simple. It's not to the
Right.
degree of like God of War or anything of that nature, right? And even that game, right? That game, God of War, took the kind of the more artistic like movie route. And I think people are tired of that. I think people really don't want that in the game anymore, or we want less of it. Like it's okay to come out every once in a while, but every game doesn't need to be that. And um, unfortunately, I think it was just it's a trifecta of stuff. I think gamers don't want this type of game. I actually wanted them to improve on the last game, but it seems like they did more of the same, but with better graphics.
Right.
And then you got that part of it, and then you got the other part of the triangle where it's like Xbox kind of hyped this game up to be their Last of Us type game when they showed it with the pretty graphics and all the other stuff like that. And then you got Ninja Theory who kind of went that route for the artistic. They decided not to expand upon anything except for like maybe the graphics and like I even hear the puzzle elements are still light and they really wanted to tell a story, which is like in their own right. It's their game. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. But you have to be prepared for the consequences that come with those choices that you made. So
Yeah.
I feel like that all encompassing triangle of bad, not bad decisions, but like unexpected decisions, coupled with the fact that the economy, as far as video games go, is really bad right now. Um, it just wasn't a great thing. And it took you 7 years to make it. Um,
Yeah.
one thing I don't like that people are saying is the length of it's 5 hours or whatever, 6 hours on a good day, or 7 hours if you take your time or something like that. Um, I don't like that argument. Um, I know some people complained about it, but not as many people complain about it. Resident Evil 3, the remake, is short as fuck. It's like 4 or 5 hours long.
Hmm.
People love
Yeah.
that game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, one could argue that game has more gamey gameplay, whatever. But it is only 4 or 5 hours long. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Um, so I don't like the double standard as far as that. But that game also did, I believe it was $70 when it fucking came out, or $60, whatever, when it came out. Um,
Sorry, which Resident Evil are we talking about?
Resident
Which
Evil
number?
3, the
Oh,
remake.
three. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that game was panned pretty hard though, at least compared to 2 and 4.
What you mean? I'm sorry.
Like I don't think 3 was nearly as well received as 2 and
That's true.
4.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't as well received. But I just don't remember. I don't know. Maybe because it was charged as a full price game. But this game isn't a full price game. This game's $50.
$50. Yeah, $50.
So it's not a full price game at all. Now one can debate like it should be lower than that. I don't know.
Mm,
Maybe it should be lower than that. Maybe it shouldn't. But I
I
think
think
50.
$50. I think $50 is fine. I
Yeah,
think
for this
I think for
quality of game, I think
for
$50
the
is really
I
fine.
think for the I think for the graphical fidelity they're hitting here, and just like this game's not cheap to make. I don't think like you it.
And that's where the other conundrum comes in. We know this
Yeah,
game wasn't cheap to make, so why continue
7 years though.
why continue to make a game like this? I don't understand the logic. I don't know who this game is for. I think that's where I'm getting at. Ultimately, right? Who was this
Yeah,
game for? You
yeah,
know, because you didn't improve on the game. You didn't improve on the last game. You
which
just
is
made it.
crazy.
You
Which
just
is
made it look
crazy.
better. Yeah,
I think that's why the first game got away with it because it was the first game and everybody assumed it would get better.
exactly, exactly.
If that's true, man, like and they didn't improve the combat or any of the other aspects of the game. I mean, they just basically made the same game and continued the story. Um, after 7 years, that's that's bad. That's not good, man. I think this is like I almost read this statement as like a cry for help. You know, like do they realize the writing's on the wall and they're like basically this game is it. If this game doesn't do well enough, they're gonna close us. You know, and I mean, dude, if they close Ninja Theory, like I'm sorry, everything Phil's ever talked about is over to me. Like I don't care if it's not coming from him. These closures, like it's just like, bro, you bought this studio like 5 years ago, you know, or 6 years ago. It might have been 2018, I think. You remember when they announced like 7 studios they bought or something that was like, we bought Double Fine, we bought Ninja Theory, we bought Obsidian, we bought blah blah blah. You know, it was like this like whole bunch of fucking studios, and this was one of those. And to think that that acquisition got them one game that's a $50 game that's like 6 or 7 hours long. It's like how mismanaged could this possibly be? You know, like I don't know, man. It's bad. I just Xboxes they're not in a good spot right now,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, from what I'm reading, right, I'm watching like the 5 hour gameplay of it, and like people like this comment kind of embodies what we're talking about, right? It's like I
Yeah,
absolutely love this game. It was a cinematic. It was cinematically gorgeous. The storytelling was unbelievable. I felt like I was watching the movie the entire time. I understand the hate for this game, calling it a walking sim, et cetera, et cetera. But I believe there's a serious and dedicated audience for games that focus on story above all else. And like, I get that. I I understand. Not every game needs to be a gaming game, like a Heavy Rain. Like Heavy Rain was really popular,
right.
you know. Um, but it's like, and then like Telltale games were like very popular, right? But those
Yeah,
games have a very unique experience to where you can have multiple outcomes and everything of that nature. From what I understand, this game doesn't have multiple outcomes. Um, so it's like I am watching a movie or playing a movie. This is essentially the Order 1887 all over again, in my
mm,
opinion.
mm-hmm.
And did we not learn from that game's mistake? You see what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like a lot of shit is just like repeating itself as far as the gaming industry goes.
Yeah,
Like we already talked about how ads are in video games and stuff like that, and me and you already went through that shit. And it's like
yeah.
we're going through this same cycle, and I don't know. I think we're actually in for one of the biggest gaming crashes since the last one that happened. I don't think it's going to destroy the industry, but it's going to restructure the way the industry is working. And I think
Yeah.
Hellblade is like the last iteration of big blockbuster, going for the graphics, whatever the case may be. We may get a couple more from Sony, but not for another couple of years. You understand? Like, I don't know. I feel really bad for the studio, and I feel really bad for the game because the game has a lot more potential. But I just don't think the route.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah, but
I.
I,
I just don't
I
think games is ready for what they're not even ready. I don't think people want this from video games. Just
I
make a
don't think
fucking
so
movie,
either. I don't think
like
so either. No, no, that's where I was gonna get to. Is like I think I mean ultimately Xbox fucked this up to me.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
how I don't know. They were probably working on this game before they were purchased, right? I would imagine they were already working on the sequel, so it's like kind of out of your hands at that point if you're acquiring them, right? Like you're not gonna cancel their game the second you acquire them. That would, I mean, they did it to Blizzard, so I guess I don't know.
You
Maybe
don't
you
have to
could
cancel the game, but we
like
always talked about,
manage the studio,
yeah,
though. You know?
like we can tell you, like, okay, what type of games is going to be, and then they show you the concept, and you're like, okay, are you going to improve upon the last game? Like, where's the,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's not what I'm seeing here. What I'm seeing is a very beautiful, gorgeous game with a really cool story. Um, you know, but you could have made a TV show with probably less resources
Yeah.
than this, if that makes any
Right.
sense.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm been talking the whole time. I'm sorry, but like, yeah,
Oh
that's
no, good. No, I love hearing your opinion on this. Like, because I think your point about the crash, right, is like I think we've been talking about this for a while, right? Is that the industry is at a break point. Like budgets can't get any bigger than they are. And if they do, it's going to get bad, because it's going to be really difficult to expect to recoup a $400 million budget or a $500 million budget on a video game, That is an insane expectation to put on a game. Like there are very few franchises that can withstand that kind of pressure. Like GTA is probably realistically like literally the only one, because I mean their budget's like $1 billion, so it's but that's like a unique case, right? Like GTA is its own thing, it's kind of a special case within games, and I think it's I don't like to your point, man. I don't know. I find it weird. I like all kinds of games, right? I
Mhm.
don't mind cinematic games. I like story based games, story driven games. Like Telltale games. I enjoyed a lot of the Telltale games. Um, I don't not against that as a concept, right? But I think the way they made Hellblade and what it looks like just kind of belies like it's not what it is though. It's like it I don't know. It's like hard to explain. I feel like doing this twice was ill advised,
Yes, yeah,
Like
I wholeheartedly agree.
the first time it was a novel thing, right? But retreading the same ground with very few changes, I just think is a mistake. And um, I don't, I don't know. You spent 7 years on it. Like, what more is there to say? Like, you spent 7 years on it. Like, why did it take so long? I almost genuinely want to understand that. Like, what was it? Were there technical problems they ran into that cost them like a year or 2 years of time that they were trying to fix?
Yeah, I
Like,
think
were
if you
there
look at the game, it looks gorgeous as fuck. Like
or
it,
yeah, were they just so meticulous that yeah, they just crafted every single fucking pixel and frame, to such a degree that it just took this long, to do?
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, man. It looks gorgeous, but it's also like, I mean, it got an 8 from IGN, you know, but like, I mean, the
Yeah.
Metacritic score isn't out yet, so we don't really know
It
yet.
is. Yeah, no,
Oh, it is. I
it's an
thought I checked
81.
it.
It's an 81.
81. Okay.
User score is 7.2 right now.
Yeah, so it's doing really well actually. Like, I think the people that wanted to play the game and knew what they were, and I do want to say that up front as well for this game. They were very upfront about what this game is going to be. They
Right.
were. Um, I just even from this conception though, I was not on board with what they were doing. I'm like, okay. So the people who are getting into it, I think they already knew what they were getting into.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's just how many of those people are there though,
exactly.
realistically.
That's the problem I'm having, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if this was a smaller budgeted game, then yeah, bravo to
Sure,
them.
absolutely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this, like, now the business side of me is looking at this, and I'm like, this is not sustainable. Like, we spent 7 years.
I mean, this is all they were working on, right? That we know of. Maybe there was something else behind the scenes,
Yeah,
but like they weren't working on like as far as we know, they weren't working on another game. You know,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think they dropped like one other game, and it was
Star
that.
Wars VR series Vader Immortal Episode 1 on 2019 on the Oculus Quest.
Yeah, so
And then
I
there
don't
was
know,
something
man.
called Nicodemus Demon of Vanishment. I don't even it's another VR experience.
So I
That's
think
it.
you actually won the Metacritic. You said 82, right?
No, I said 80. No, we both were way off. I said
Oh,
88
yeah, I
and
said
you said
90.
90. We thought it would get a much higher scores. Like we did the guesses a very long time ago, like probably what a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah, we should have
Um
changed it.
the conversation around this game soured significantly since then, like pre-launch. People ever since they said the game was going to be like, the same length as the first one, I feel like people started turning on this game.
Well,
And
it's just the time length. It's like the meme is I want shorter games with worse graphics for a shorter time period with less and cost less, and I'm not kidding. And they did the complete opposite of that. They made a shorter game that costs more
yeah.
as far as to make it. It is less money, but it has way better graphics, and it's like I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of the game. Like I said, it's not for me. It wasn't made for me. Well, I actually love the first one, but I was expecting it to be a stepping stone for something better. I didn't want more of the first one, but with better graphics. Um, and yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't. I think story wise, I think it pulled. It's better, right? I think it's going way better than what the first one was trying to go for.
Yeah.
Um, but gameplay wise, like I'm not. I can't say I'm not. I'm not in it for the story. I'm not in it for a movie, right? Like the whole meme with The Last of Us One was this is a movie. Like it barely has any fucking gameplay or
Yeah, and
whatever.
that's people are just being mean. Like
Yeah,
it's still a game.
and which is why I think The Last of Us Two, even though that game cost a lot of money to make, I saw the animations in the
Yes.
gameplay. Like they went above and beyond because that game not only has a phenomenal story, in my opinion, but the presentation is really good
Yeah.
and the gameplay is just it's
It took a
phenomenal.
step forward. It took a
Yeah.
big step forward. Like the first game was a stepping stone in that
Yeah,
regard,
exactly.
right?
And I think
Um,
that's how you should have approached it. You could have had the same story beats, you could have had the same everything,
yeah.
but for the gameplay to just be what it is, I don't know, man. That's a hard yikes for me. I wouldn't.
Right.
I can't say I don't see. I can't say I can't see why people are hating the game. Like I can understand why people. If people would like to tell me like I fucking hate the game, bro, like it's a movie. I can't really counter that. Like I don't know.
Well,
This
let
is
me
where
put
the
it.
artistic integrity of the conversation of video games goes a little bit too far, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, let me put it this way. Like, what games have you played in your life where you're like, you play a game and you're just like a sequel comes out and you're like, I just like I want like I don't know. I feel like we do say this sometimes where it's like you just want the exact same game that you had the first game, but it's like we say that sometimes because we love something, but in reality, like you want it to be a little different, right? Like you
Yeah,
want there to be some new mechanics, some new types of content, maybe different ways to like interact with the game.
yeah,
I feel like that's like deep down, that's really what we want. So it's like the idea that you made the same game twice 7 years apart, it's just that just seems like a failed plan. Like games aren't made like that. You innovate on your own game. You iterate. Sometimes games come out and sequels come out and they're a little bit, there are derivative. They're kind of the same game with maybe a little bit more to it. Um, obviously like Assassin's Creed's probably kind of like that all the time. But it's like you can be successful there, but I feel like that's only true when your game is already engaging, Like, and I'm not saying Hellblade 1 wasn't engaging. I just mean like from a gameplay standpoint, Um, you know.
No, I
it-
get it, and I feel like it was just a weird choice to make, in my opinion. Ninja Theory has always been weird, but this was like really weird because I can watch this game. This is the type of game I want to watch on YouTube. Watch somebody else play it. I
mm,
don't want to play it because I just
yeah,
want to enjoy the story. Like if I play it, I'm going to get very annoyed that I'm not downplaying it. If that makes any
right.
sense, right? Because I'm gonna want to eat popcorn and just watch it. Watch this product you made. I just want to watch it now. I don't want to play it. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Um,
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Like watch it on YouTube or something.
yeah, I just want to watch it. I just want to watch a
Yeah.
streamer play it or whatever, or yeah, just watch a let's play of it, and then
No,
like
and making a game like this is really dangerous in that regard because I think a lot of people don't care. Like they will actually just go watch it on YouTube.
yeah,
Like, what are they getting out of buying it and playing it themselves? Like that they can't get on YouTube. Like I'm sure Ninja Theory would argue, oh, the 3D audio or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you probably won't get that on YouTube, but it's like, okay, like how much are you really losing there? I don't. Maybe you are, like maybe you are, but um, are most people going to care enough to find out and go buy your game and go out of their way to buy your game and play it? Like, no. I mean, most people don't even have a 3D headset. It's like, so I don't even like that shouldn't be a major feature of your game, frankly, for like a peripheral like that. So I don't know. It's because yeah, dude, looking at their game list, it's very weird. Ninja Theory is a weird studio because early on they were a character action game developer like Kung Fu Chaos. I don't
yep.
know, like that was their first game, whatever. But then Heavenly Sword, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, and then DMC Devil May Cry. Like, and then they
Um,
went to Hellblade
yeah.
after
By the
that.
way, all those games were fucking phenomenal. Me and
Yeah,
my Kung Fu Chaos. Me, my brother, and my dad used to play that shit all the fucking time. It was a 4-player, like arena style game, and it was funny, fucking funny, and fun as hell.
yeah,
Uh, and yeah, and then obviously those other three games, I played Heavenly Sword. I loved it.
wow,
It was on the PS3. It was kind of buggy, but it worked.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, I love DMC, Devil May Cry, and
Enslaved is like a cult classic,
yeah,
dude.
and Slave is a cult classic. It combined puzzle elements with character action game elements, and it was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, you just go to Hellblade, and Hellblade was cool too, but I I just don't know what they were trying to accomplish. When I played it, I was like, oh, this is like a very unique game, and I
Well,
can
that's
see
such a
what
weird jump, dude, to go from DMC to Hellblade. Like you want to make a story-driven game from making DMC, you know? What a weird turn. And then they got like stuck on this, dude. Like for basically like 11 years, Like they've been in this Hellblade universe. Like it's like they just got completely sidetracked from making what they're good at. I mean, to your point, I guess the person who made DMC, like, or who was this, maybe the creative director or something at that point, is gone. So maybe they're a different company at this point. I don't know. Or there was some transition at some point in there to different leadership that wanted to make different games, different type of games. But um, I don't know.
yeah, maybe
It's weird.
maybe that's what they wanted. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Hellblade would have been a lot better as a one off, and then they moved on to something else. But we'll see. I mean, we're speculating, right? We don't know what the sales
Yeah,
are. We don't know how the game's doing necessarily.
exactly.
I don't feel like it has a lot of buzz. There's a lot of negativity surrounding this game. As much as the meta score is fairly positive from a critic standpoint, that user score of 72 is probably indicative of a little bit of a groundswell of negativity, at least on the player side. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll certainly see what happens. I mean, I don't want Ninja Theory to close or anything like that. It's like they're,
You know, it's the opposite of what I want. I think they
of
make
course,
very fucking unique games.
right.
Um,
They're a cool developer.
they are.
They would be a
They're a
big loss.
very underrated developer. It's kind of wild how underrated they
They
are.
just shouldn't have been purchased. I think like letting themselves get like again, they made the decision to let Microsoft buy them, right? Like it's like you have to sign the paperwork to say yes, you can buy us. It's like um that decision changes the trajectory of your studio because that probably enabled them to take 7 years to make Hellblade 2. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if they were still independent, they wouldn't have that leeway. They would have to make something that can sell, Um, so I don't know. Like, could they have survived on their own? Probably not.
I think so. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe they needed a buyer, but I just think this game wasn't the game for. I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like whatever I say is going to be against the developers, and I'm not really against them. I'm just,
Yeah.
and I'm not against their artistic vision or their art and how they feel about
No.
the game. I just feel like,
God damn.
yeah, I don't
Dude,
know, man.
as of 2019, they had 200 employees, 200 developers. But that head count went down at some point, it seems like. So there's somewhere between 100 and 200 employees, which is a lot. That's a AAA development team. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Probably a combination of them getting purchased, Microsoft letting them do their own thing without, intervening and other factors. Um, but we'll see what happens with the game. As we mentioned, moving on to the final segment, guess the meta score. Montrell and I were off. I said 88. Montrell said 90. The game is currently sitting at an 82 meta score for critics. So not a bad score by any stretch of the imagination. But
Yep.
what's the first game at? Hellblade 87. Oh no, 81. Sorry, 81 for the original version of
Okay.
Hellblade. So it's around the same score, which is it's so weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they accomplished their goal. If they wanted to make the same game, they did with better graphics. They
Yeah.
knocked it out the park. I just don't understand why that was your goal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
right.
such a
Yeah.
weird. And you know what?
I just want to make the same thing I already made.
And you know what? I looking at their history, they don't make sequels. This is their first sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe they don't. Maybe they're not used to making a sequel, and they just didn't know how to approach it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
This is what the outcome was.
Yeah.
No, that certainly makes sense. Definitely. All right, Montreal. Are there any games coming up? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look for games coming up that we could guess. I mean, we've exhausted everything we had.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take a look next week or when I'm on vacation. I'll take a look, but I don't think there's anything crazy.
There's Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail, right? We could guess that.
Oh my god,
It's not worth it.
uh,
Hold on, I'm looking.
they did
through
change a lot though. I'm actually interested in going back.
Dude, fuck.
They changed a lot of shit, bro.
I really want to go back. I'm kind of excited a little bit. Like
They added some new moves to all the classes and stuff.
Of
or some of
course,
the classes
they do
and
that.
stuff.
They do that every expansion. Yeah, but I'm sure that I need to watch that job action trailer. Those are so fucking cool when they release those. We've got Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. That's right. I forgot.
I mean, that's gonna get a fucking 10. I mean,
we don't need to guess.
Yeah,
we
don't
need
to guess that shit.
Can we give it an 11? Like, is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Dawn Trail going into July. What else is there in July? Nothing really.
Yeah, I think the back half of the game, the back half of this year is actually kind of light. I think this is a really good time for people to get through their backlogs, in my opinion.
I think the fall will be. I think the fall is going to have a lot of games, but yeah, I think the summer is going to probably stay pretty light, at least through like August, probably, and then August a little bit. Because we have Black Myth Wukong in August 20th.
Oh yeah, we can guess that one, but Yeah, that's like 3 months away for right now.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, we'll just wait on that. Just
Yeah.
remember, yeah, that one, and then Star Wars Outlaws is coming out August 30th.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's another one. So yeah, we got some games coming up in. And then Metaphor in October. We got that one. Then Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't want to guess that one. Who cares? Whatever. It's Assassin's Creed. It's gonna get like a fucking 8. Whatever. So yeah, we'll have stuff to guess. I'm sure, dude. I mean, frankly, the next dude, my work trip's probably the worst timing imaginable. Now that I'm really thinking about it, because we have the Xbox showcase coming in June. There is supposedly a Nintendo. Well, we know there's a Nintendo Direct happening in June. And there have been a lot of rumors of a PlayStation showcase happening like this month. So I don't know. I feel like we're on the precipice for a shit ton of announcements, from various companies, and we're gonna know a lot more, I think, in the next few weeks. So that is exciting for sure. Cool. All right, Montrell, anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
Nope. That's it.
Alrighty, well, let's get the hell out of here then. All right, everybody, if you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show, and whatever you're listening to it on. Please share with your friends and interact with us on Twitter. You can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to playerstake01@gmail.com. And reminder once again that we are on YouTube. All the episodes are on YouTube. This episode and future ones will be on YouTube if you want to listen there as well. So, all right. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.